I don't know what you're saying, but I don't know what you're talking about, but I'm gonna go ahead.
Tonight, we are talking about the creativity you can have with alcohol. And as we always do, we're going to be delving into the history and the origins of booze life, I guess you could say. But there's a lot more to it than that. When it comes to alcohol and booze and so on, first and foremost, we have to tell everybody this is all about responsibility. We're not encouraging people going out and being stupid. That's not what this show tonight is all about. I just want that known right off the bat. Tonight is about the creativity side of it, how it stimulates creativity, how creativity has changed it, how it's kind of worked with our civilization over time, and of course, some of our preferences and things that we've thought about over the years. But before we get into any of those things, I would love to say hello to these three other amazing humans that I call co-hosts. I'm just so happy. We've had a great chat before we even started the record, and I just love these guys. So before we go any farther, Sean, I know you're not drunk. You are.
I'm not drunk. You guys are.
How you doing, man? How's free life? How's not being in jail?
Dude, you know what? Not being in jail is actually kind of a bummer. You know, I've always wanted to experience jail. I'm just kidding. I'm not being serious. I've actually had a few to drink tonight already. So if I say anything really heinous like that, just let me know.
I was going to say audition for 60 Days In or something. You can...
Hold on, just let me make a couple of phone calls to the YRP there.
No, don't worry. I'm not driving or nothing, so I'm good. I've just drunk off coffee, so
we'll just make up some shit, you know.
Yeah. No, I'm good, man. I'm just I'm chilling out. Today was a bit of a rough day for first cutting, but we started cutting grass today. So it's the beginning of my season to, put foot to ass, which is nice. Got some good lines in, make some properties look good. The only issue I had was that it was raining and it was cold and Sean was soaked and displeased.
Yeah, it was kind of miserable a lot of the day today.
Yeah, but other than that, I'm setting sail, man. I'm ready for Tri-City Expo. I'm just waiting on one more thing for the car show, and I'm balls to the wall, man. I'm ready.
Awesome. Well, when is that? When are you doing that again?
June 3rd.
So you got a solid month of shows before then, so we'll find out more about that as we get near. Cool. Awesome. Mark, how about you?
I'm doing well. I'm a little jealous. Sean's cutting grass and I still have snow on mine. So it snowed last Thursday here. It didn't last. It didn't stick around, but it did snow, and I've still got the driveway to my the garage where my toy lives. It still has at least 8 inches of snow in spots. So yeah, there's no grass being cut here anytime soon. But no, I'm doing well. We did a road trip last weekend down to Southern Ontario. It was originally for a concert, but that got canceled because of the cyber attack at Casino Rama. But we ended up having a couple of really good meals with some friends and family, and I got to spend some much needed alone time with Chris. So that was amazing. Of course, the dogs were there as well. I think I spoiled all you with the view from my motel room in Blind River, the beautiful sunset that I experienced while I was eating dinner. So that was a nice 4-day weekend. It was nice to have a little bit of time off.
Those are the moments that just imprint.
Yeah, absolutely. It's
they hit you right in the face.
Yeah, right
literally. Right in the face.
Pow, right in the kisser.
No, it was good. It was a lot of fun, and the drive was uneventful, which is what you always want. And we managed to get cheap gas in a lot of places because I've discovered the reserve fuel, which is that's where we go up here. It's clear, usually about 30 to 40 cents cheaper a liter. So
wow,
that'd be nice.
Yeah, yep.
Yeah,
especially in big gas tanks. Well, good. Well, thank you for being here, and I'm glad you got some time to yourself. Aurora, how about you?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. I had a bit of a day off today. As you know, Mondays were closed, so I got some much needed rest, and then I went to the gym for like almost 2 hours. And then I came home, made dinner, and now I'm on the podcast with you guys. I'm super excited to get talking about alcohol. Not in like a super partier kind of way. As you can probably see, my tagline there is wine lover. I love wine, and I love going on wine tours and stuff like that. I went on one recently, so I brought all the wine that I bought on said tours, and some other wine bottles that I had, kicking around my house. And one fancy champagne that was given to me because Andrew and I got engaged, and my friends gave it to me, and I thought it was kind of interesting to talk about. So
cool. That's another form of creativity that I wanted to talk about as well, for sure.
Yeah, there's so many different like flavors, so many different ways that you can mix different drinks like wine and other stronger drinks. I'm super excited to get into this.
Well, let's do it.
And then pairings with food and stuff like that. Like,
there we go.
Yeah,
we could do a whole show just on that, really.
Yeah, honestly.
Like, actually, we should do a food and wine or food and drink pairing special. Have a chef on, and anyway, that's.
We need a sommelier.
I looked for somebody for this episode, and the best I can come up with as far as a name was this name.
Jack Daniels.
Yeah,
Jack Daniels.
Jack Daniels.
So
is that a Jack and Coke? Is that
it is, sir? Yes, it is.
It's otherwise known as a Lemmy.
So what is everybody drinking tonight?
All right. Well, why don't we start the episode like that? That sounds great.
Do a beverage check.
Aurora, beverage check. You go first.
I got a bottle of wine with it's the thing to take the cork out.
Oh, okay.
I went to the wine bottle opener. I didn't want to open it until the show because I thought it'd be kind of funny to.
Classic.
Yeah. So this is from Holland Marsh Wineries. I actually didn't get this on the wine tour. A week or so before, I went to a bridal show at Holland Marsh Wineries. They were holding a bridal show with all their like preferred vendors and stuff like that, and I got a chance to try out Holland Marsh Wineries.
So for those who don't know, Holland Marsh, we live in Newmarket. Holland Marsh is just on the outskirts of our town, and there's a little road through the canal, and they have this beautiful little winery there. And I see it all the time, and I've actually wanted to run workshops there because it looks so cool. But
it is very cool. Actually, now that you've said that, I'm getting all nostalgic. My wife and I did the wine tour there with my mother and father-in-law while my father-in-law was still alive. So it was a nice place, really, really nice place.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure my sister had her wedding reception there, so I spent an entire night getting absolutely plastered there.
There you go.
That was fun.
Yeah, honestly, it's a beautiful venue. It is a little pricey for sure because you have to rent the venue and everything's separate, like the catering and all of that. But it's beautiful place, beautiful.
Aurora know because she's wedding planning.
Yes.
Yeah. And the wine was amazing. Actually, I don't like red wine. I'm not a big red wine person. I love white wines, rosés, like fruit wines, things like that. But red wine is not on the top of my list. But
it's the tannins.
Holland Marsh Wineries, Gamay Noir. This red wine, I love it. I've never said I love a red wine before, and I love this red wine. So
nice.
If anybody who's listening or watching or whatever does not like red wine, is more of a white wine and rosé type of person, this is like a really good red wine.
Cool.
For that.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I think red wine, I think of Manischewitz.
Ah, there you go.
Yeah, Sean's face. What the who?
Why does it sound like a venereal disease?
As a Jewish person, back when I was living with my family, my mom, I celebrated a lot of the holidays. And Passover, you would drink, even as a little child, Manischewitz wine. It's very sweet. Tastes like, sweet
Grape
grapes.
juice.
Yeah,
Grape
almost
juice, yeah.
kind of like grape juice, but not exactly. And you can get soused on it, but apparently that's okay. So yeah, that was my first experience with wine was the Manischewitz, and every single time I think of red wine, I think of that sweet.
Even mentioned in Adam Sandler's The Hanukkah Song.
Yes,
That's right.
that's right. Yeah.
So when you say it's sweet, it's like, is it like kind of like an ice wine type of?
Did you
sweet,
ever
or
have
is it?
cough syrup as grape cough syrup when you were a kid?
Yeah.
It tastes pretty much like that.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah.
So it was like sweet, but with like a burn.
Yeah, it would be like most people like a dry wine, like a 0 or a 1, maybe a 2, and I think the Manischewitz would probably ring in at about a 6 or a 7. Not quite an ice wine, because I think an ice wine is like I'd have to Google it, but I think it's higher. An ice wine would still be higher.
It's very much like an ice wine kind of flavor. Yeah. Very, very sweet. But no, that's not what I'm having. So how do you like that? How do you like your bev from your bev check?
Oh, it's very good. I'm not a huge fan of like the super sweet tasting wines. I tend to like be on like the drier side of wines, except for when I'm going with maybe like more of a fruity wine or a rosé type of thing. So this is a really nice, like, it's not too dry where it's like bitter. It has like a touch of sweetness to it. It's the Emir Vidal by Holland Marsh Wineries. I find it's really nice.
Very good.
It's nice, light, but also not too sweet.
Yeah. Well, we'll check out the bottle by the
cheese or something like.
We're getting the full story now.
Yeah, like a salty kind of cheese. I don't know what I would choose for that, but yeah, it's very good. I like it.
You should have cheese with you. What? Go get some cheese then.
Oh no, I'm not gonna go upstairs. I got crackers though, and I got this little like thing of jam that I got on a wine tour. It's peach and prosecco jam.
Very
nice.
It's very good.
It's pretty much safe for you to go get cheese though. Here in my house, I have to pay the cheese tax if I open the cheese drawer. Yeah, there's 2 dogs.
Oh, the dogs.
They expect the cheese tax to be paid when you open that drawer.
That's
cheese
funny.
Tax is brutal, man. When you have dogs, it's awful.
Yeah. I was making some dinner tonight, and I'm like cutting up carrots, and the dogs are getting carrot. I'm paying the carrot tax and the cucumber tax. And, here's a piece of romaine, and they don't want that. There's no dressing. Carrots and cucumbers, man. Yeah.
Mark, what are you having?
I actually found this. This is a new one for me. It's a Matt and Steve's Caesar.
Oh, right on.
So I found these at the liquor store. I happened to be driving by, and I had a gift card in my wallet, and I was out of vodka to make Caesars with. So I went in to buy vodka, and I spotted these in the cooler. So I thought I would buy. I bought 4, and this is the only one still standing. But this one is it is a hot and spicy extreme bean flavor. And this one is quite good. The other one was I bought 2 different kinds, and the other one wasn't as good, but this one is pretty decent. So cheers.
Cheers. I have a feeling Sean wouldn't want that one, the extreme bean, and he's done.
He's done. Those beans.
Yeah,
beans.
Well, extreme bean would be a pickled bean. So
but it's not a pickle. It's not.
Well, anything that isn't pickled, like I'll eat beans. I don't care as long as it doesn't kill the people in this chat room. I think we're fine. We're good.
Is it the dill that you don't like?
I just don't like pickles.
You just don't like sticking something in your mouth.
In yeah, exactly.
Because it's ickle. Yeah, I get you.
Perfect. Yeah. Anyways, it's quite good. Now I have some other things here as well that we'll talk about after. I've got I have enough here to get really soused if I want, but I don't. I got to work. Although I got to work tomorrow, and part of being an adult is you can go to work and get paid and be hungover.
Mark, nobody is paying us $80 to take a shot tonight. Okay, so
all right,
it's not going to happen.
Good enough.
Sean, what about you? What are you at?
I just got the good old coffee bean nectarine with my new cup.
Just some coffee. It's a good boy.
Yeah,
you're a good boy.
I enjoy 1 beer a month, probably. That's basically it. That's my level of alcoholism at this point.
Well, I got 3 over here if you want one.
Hey man, if you can e-transfer it, I will happily drink it.
That'll be the next. Actually, they could probably do that. We could send something to you right now. Hang on a second.
Yeah, who does home delivery in the Newmarket area?
Let's see if I can figure this.
Fuck, I don't even know.
What's the band
know
that we
there's-
did, the old fire hall there, or the brewery there? I'll bet they would.
Ooh, Old Mill.
Firehouse stuff? Oh, the Old Flame. That's what
Old Flame, that's it.
Yeah, I bet they'll send you some beer.
You see, things I wish I had known before we started recording. Anyway,
God damn it.
so yeah, that's good. Coffee's good, and again, this isn't a show about getting people drunk. That's not what we're getting into. We're talking about the creativity behind it, and we're just doing a quick bev check. So for me, this is what I've got. I kind of went the same route as you with the Caesars, but the Walter Caesar is my absolute favorite. Better than anything. I don't have to spice them up. I don't have to do anything to them. Right out of the can, they're just amazing. Their cans feel like paper too, which is kind of neat.
I know they're I actually spotted those when I saw these ones, but I thought, well, I'll grab the Walters after, and I was feeling kind of cheap, so Walters was a little more expensive than the one I bought.
I didn't even notice. I don't look at those things. It's weird. Yeah. It's weird. I have no money at all times, but I still don't really pay attention. That's the one I want.
I do enjoy a good Caesar, but since I don't measure things with a shot glass, I just pour the vodka until it looks good. So usually it's about 2 fingers worth, and then we're good.
Well,
but 2 shots puts the whole bottle in.
Yeah, so two fingers worth of vodka, right? That's what you're putting. But that's the trick, is at least this way the alcohol is measured, and I can't get myself in too much trouble with.
Well, I'm sure we've all gotten into trouble with alcohol in the past. I haven't been drunk since my stag party, literally 27 years ago.
Never once did I get in trouble with alcohol.
No. But I learned that lesson real early. And as soon as, before that, I would go out to bars with my friends, and, you go to the bathroom bumping off the walls, trying to find your way to the bathroom. You do it or you don't do it, whatever. But that one time that you go too far, that's all it takes, or at least for me. And I haven't needed it since. And occasionally, like Sean says, I'll have a beer here or there. Maybe I love these Caesars. That's kind of my vice. And it's pretty much when we go on a vacation. That's when we'll get a couple of those and we'll take them on vacation with us. And most of the time, some will come home with us. And, there's never a bender situation. You know what I mean? But the show tonight is all about how can people use these things creatively, or how are they made, and creatively, how are they all designed and thought about? Because there's such a diverse, every one of us have something a little bit different. Mark and I mean, we're kind of the closest with both having a Caesar, but we're Canadian. It's our drink. What do you want?
Yeah, right.
So I want to talk about that for a minute. So Caesar, I always get confused with the Caesars. So what goes into a Caesar? Just so that I get an idea. I have tried one once before when I was working at Eastside Mario's, and they were changing the recipe of a bunch of their mixed drinks. And one of the ones that they changed the recipe for was the Caesar. So we all got to try a little taste of it. Mm-hmm. Not the biggest fan personally, but to each their own. And it could have just been a bad, Caesar option. I've heard from people really love the Caesars as if they're not feeling very well or something like that. Or I've heard some people say that Caesars are good hangover drinks, which I think is kind of weird. You drink something for when you're having a hangover, but I just want to know kind of what goes into it. What's
okay? So in the States, a Caesar in the States would be called a Bloody Mary. It's basically tomato juice with vodka, I believe. And same thing, right? Yeah, tomato juice and vodka. And in Canada, they don't like their drinks that boring, because that honestly tastes like shit. And I've had it and I don't like it. So a Caesar, instead of tomato juice, they use Clamato, which is tomato juice and clam sauce, basically. So it has kind of juice, yeah. What's that?
Tomato and clam juice. Yeah.
Yeah, clam juice. So it has like I'm not gonna say a fishy taste, but it has like a different kind of flavor to it.
Yeah.
And I like it with a bit of a spice. Some people will put Worcestershire in there. Give it a little bit of a
wash your sister sauce.
Wash your sister sauce.
What?
Put a little in there.
It's like a famous video on TikTok. This lady said, wash your sister sauce. That's what she
I
called
thought it was
it.
wash your sister or whatever.
Yeah, that's
exactly
another one.
I don't know.
Yeah. I don't often, if I'm on the road, like when I used to travel for work, if I felt like a drink, they're expensive in a bar. So I would stop at the LCBO if I was going to be in a place for a couple of days, and I'd pick up a half a dozen Caesars and just keep them in the fridge, and I'd have one every night type of thing. But I usually mix my own at home, and I start with vodka. It's got to be a good vodka. You can't do a cheap vodka like you can't. Yeah, we won't talk about qualities of vodka, but a good vodka. A splash of lemon juice, Worcester sauce. So lime juice, Worcester sauce. Of course, I live in Thunder Bay, so Heartbeat hot sauce is what I use in mine now. It used to be Tabasco or Frank's, but now it's always Heartbeat. And I've got a whole, depending on how spicy I want it, I've got a scorpion pepper one I can try, or I can do the red habanero.
That's the key, is the spice to it, right?
And then of course the Clamato juice on top. So. But that's normally how I mix it. And I've got some I went to a Jays game many moons ago, and I've got like the large tumbler that you can get a Coke in, and that's what I mix a Caesar in. So it's probably about 4 ounces of vodka, and then I fill it right up. And where I get myself in trouble is if Chris is working and I have a few, then by the time Chris gets home, she's like, "You're drunk." I'm, "No, I'm not." She's like, "I just got home from work. I'm drunk." "Yes, you are." Yeah.
Well, they're very tasty, and I can see why people would want them after being drunk, because it's like a meal. They're thick, they're hearty, and you drink it, and it's like you're drinking something substantial. That's what I like about it.
Electrolytes back up and whatnot.
Yeah. Otherwise, I generally like something with some kind of pop to it. Either like root beer, hard root beer, or Coke or something like that with something in it. But I'm not a big drinker, as I may have already mentioned. So
Same.
Let's get into the origin of alcohol, how it all started. Do you guys know when alcohol was actually originated? Any idea?
No.
Sometime when life was probably super fucking boring, maybe.
super boring, and anything you ate was disgusting. It was actually like 9,000 years ago is the first record of any kind of malted or not malted, distilled alcohol. 9,000 years ago in China.
That's crazy.
And they couldn't tell if it's actually China or Middle East, because they found traces in both cultures way back. And it's interesting that they could actually find that information out now, this far down, which I find is interesting too, because how creative do you have to be to figure out some sort of way to determine that there was alcohol and, in the traces of 9,000-year-old things? I mean, gosh, there's so much stuff. But
science is cool.
Science is really cool. And of course, the origin of the word booze, because booze doesn't sound like alcohol at all, right? Like, what's the deal with that? Apparently, it's from Old Dutch language, which was buis, which translates to drinking vessel, or busen, which meant to drink excessively. So to booze it up is to drink excessively. There you go.
Get boozed up.
There's all these old other stories that people have. Like, according to one legend, the origin of the word dates back to the 19th century American distiller named Edmund Booze, based in Philadelphia. Mr. Booze operated a successful business that became known for its log cabin shaped whiskey bottles. Although many attribute the word booze to Booze's influence, it seems that story is just a myth. I mean, there's so many other stories over time that have come up.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And of course, there was like prohibition.
Yeah, I was just thinking that.
Yeah.
Where people were making their gin in bathtubs, and hence the term bathtub gin. Stuff was just to take the paint off your walls.
Right.
That
And
was in the 20s, right?
Yeah.
1920s? Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was. Now we have to Google it. Let me Google it.
When did Al Capone become famous?
And then they had, it's become popular again.
1920 to 1933.
It's a pretty decent time for a world to not allow people to have drinks.
Yeah. Well, then you got all the speakeasies creeping in because people still wanted to have a good time. They still wanted to party.
And now, of course, a speakeasy is a big hit. You go to some places in Vegas, or at least one place in Vegas, where you have to open a special door and it opens up this wall of books and you can walk in. And
I think there's a couple in Toronto too, actually.
Are there?
Yeah, they look like restaurants, but then you can go in and they have like the bar at the back or whatever.
Again, super creative.
Yeah. Oh, there's Prohibition Bar in Minneapolis, Minnesota. So probably the closest one to me. It doesn't open till 5 p.m. on Tuesday.
Oh, you gotta wait.
I gotta wait.
Interesting fun fact about the world's first still. You know, where they actually make booze. Maria the Jewess, Jewess. Apparently she was Jewish, I guess. She created the first still. It was most likely not used for alcohol, though, but for alchemy, because she was an alchemist. She was trying to turn materials into other materials, basically, like trying to turn water to gold and things like that. So she built the world's first still. And then, of course, that was used down the road by the Egyptians to make their eye makeup, which they called kohl, K-O-H-L. And it just basically was that black eye makeup that you see on all the Egyptian posters and stuff like that. And they was all used. They made that makeup using the still, and the still eventually started being used for all kinds of different makeups and oils and things like that, which eventually turned into, they believe, alcohol by putting rice and other kind of honey and different kinds of grains and things like that in there. So the origin's kind of interesting how it all developed. It all started by things used to make makeup. Go figure.
Who would have thunk it?
Very cool.
Not me.
There you go.
But is it really that interesting? Me. Not really.
What's interesting is that there are still places where you can go where it is you can't buy alcohol, right? In certain places, like for instance, you keep showing the Jack and Coke there, and I have, of course, I have my bottle of Jack Daniels here that comes from Lynchburg, Tennessee, and Lynchburg is in Moore County in Tennessee, and it is a dry county. You can't buy alcohol in Lynchburg, yet they produce Jack Daniels there. Yeah. So interesting. My wife and I did the tour of the distillery.
So weird.
And you can't buy alcohol in Lynchburg, Tennessee. However, you can buy collectible bottles that happen to contain alcohol. So
really,
I've got a whole bunch like this. There's actually a story behind this one. This bottle is not mine, actually. It's Chris's. And okay, so it's a 26er. So you see how much is left in it. This bottle came home with Chris from university, her first time around, in 1995.
Wow.
So this is left over from 95, and it has been in many photo shoots, but I have the matching shot glass. So
nice.
Yeah.
There you
go.
You see, that's interesting too. Photography.
Did you say don't?
No.
Did you say don't?
No, I said dope.
Oh, I thought you said don't. I'm like, yeah, I'll do shot. I'll do shot right now, man.
Do it, man. Do it.
No, there's so many different ways that alcohol has worked itself into our culture and our community structure. That's something I think is pretty interesting. I mean, there's a lot of people who can't party unless they booze first, right?
Right.
Admit it. But that's not necessarily everybody. But everybody that did have booze first will act differently during a party.
Correct. Yeah.
So any thoughts as to why that is? What is it about alcohol that makes people drunk?
Well, I mean, it lowers your inhibitions, right? It's the alcohol affects obviously your nervous system, right? So that's why it makes you drunk. Like it inhibits a lot of things. It inhibits pain receptors. That's why old movies, they take the swig of whiskey, bite down on the leather belt, and then they dig the bullet out of their shoulder or whatever, right? So it helps inhibit pain. A lot of the receptors that pick up pain, the nerve receptors, it helps to dull that. That's why it does that. But also because it affects the brain and makes you all woozy and drunk, for lack of a better word. it can be fun, right? Because you're sort of not in control, but you're in control. I don't particularly enjoy that feeling. So that's why I usually one, maybe two. And if I start to feel that way, I stop drinking because I don't like that feeling.
Yeah.
That's fair. I can get with
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, having experienced it many times, it's and then giving it up and not going there anymore. Definitely have no desire to have that feeling again of the whole unsteadiness and whatever. But it's just like I'm reading this story here. Sean Belloc, PhD, wrote "Alcohol Benefits: The Creative Process," and she says, "Why might intoxication lead to improved creativity? The answer has to do with the alcohol's effect on working memory, the brain power that helps us keep what we want in mind and what we don't want out. Research has shown alcohol tends to reduce people's ability to focus on some things and ignore others, which also happens to benefit creative problem solving." So, one example I heard of this is if you're going to be using alcohol as some sort of mental stimulant, don't do your taxes, right? Because you're going to be all over the place. But if you're going to use it to write a song or to be creative, then it's okay because you can kind of be all over the place and you're getting all these influences and you're not, you can't necessarily control all of it, but you can focus on the stuff that is interesting to you a little bit more. So it's interesting how that could be. At the same time, though, it's all about balance. It's like your salad with food, right? It's all about balance. If you have too much, you're a hot mess, and if you don't have enough, then that's fine too, I guess.
Yeah, and I know that there's definitely a lot of people out there who have made the choice to cut alcohol out of their their life basically, and that's a good choice for quite a few people because some people can't draw the line or whatever it may be, or use it as a negative, coping mechanism or something like that. And it's just important to just be responsible when you're drinking, if you're drinking. And if you don't want to drink, that's fine too. Like it shouldn't be a
Peer
social
pressure
requirement. You shouldn't be pressured into it, anything like that. Like something about me, I didn't really drink until I was legal to drink. I had it in my head that there was a reason for that.
Drugs are bad.
Well, yeah. So the first time I drank, I was 18 years old. Not quite 19 in Ontario, but I was in a place where it was legal when I was 18. I went to England with family, and they offered me something, and they're like, "Oh, well, you're legal at 16 here," and I'm like, "Okay, I'll give it a try," kind of thing. And as long as you're keeping an eye on your boundaries, right, and you're not overdoing it, I think that's fine. I haven't really been the person to be blackout drunk or anything like that. I've had a few friends who've experienced that, and all of them, like you said, Brian, they don't want to do that again because it was a scary experience, not knowing what happened and stuff like that. So,
I know what happened.
Well,
I saw the photos.
Yeah, and you tell the stories. I was there one night when one of my friends, pushed it a little too far, and it's a story for sure. But they have also, said that they don't want to do it again. So
live
I
and
respect
learn.
that.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yep. Now I just do cocaine.
Yeah.
No, I don't. I'm joking. Not at all.
It's interesting how we've all had those experiences. Like I had one night where we had gone to the bar in Newmarket. It was probably Spotlight or something, and then went to a party after. And I was the designated driver. And I remember we got to the party, and everyone's like, "Oh, have a beer." So I did, and then another and another and another, and it was a great night, great party. Woke up in my own bed the next morning, but woke up and I'm like, oh, kind of feel crappy, hungover. And then I realized I was the designated driver. I'd had my dad's car, and I'm like, shit. So I like literally go terracing out into the living room, look out the front window, and they're sitting in the driveway. And I see, please, is Dad's car. And I'm like, oh my God. So then, of course, I run out there and I'm looking, run around the car, like, hope it didn't hurt it, hope it didn't damage it the whole bit, right? But it was on the wrong side of the driveway, like his, it was Dad's side, Mom's side. Well, I better move it. So I run back in the house, get my keys, and I go to get in the car, and I couldn't get in because the seat was so far forward. So I clearly had not driven the car home. It turned out one of the young ladies that hadn't been drinking drove me and my dad's car home. And then I don't know how she got home afterwards, whether somebody else followed her, but apparently it was a big thing that I realized too late that I had to get my dad's car home.
And this is why you only go drinking with people that you trust.
Right. That's right. And I had a great group of friends in high school. They were very, for the most part, very trustworthy. And they wouldn't really, we did pranks, but it was nothing terrible. And they were a great group, and they got me in the car home safe. So that's it. Drink responsibly. That's if nothing else, you get nothing out of this episode, drink responsibly, call cab, Uber, walk home. I walked home from so many parties. Oh my God. Not, obviously there's times when you are the designated driver, but, and if you are the designated driver, that's where pop and water and all that stuff comes in.
There are some tasty pops and there's some tasty water out there.
And you can have a lot of fun being this sober one at a party, like just laughing at, people being goofy and.
Okay.
Yeah.
Speak, Sean. Tell us what you're pointing at yourself.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, let me tell you a little something about my days as chauffeur. That was a nickname I came up with for myself because I was too busy driving people around because they were piss loaded. But I was always that guy. So I have my dad to thank for this one, but my dad always used to tell me this story about when he went to this one party, and my dad was like, he was always out partying with his buddies and shit, right? So he told me, he's like, the first week I got my Z28 Camaro. He goes, you know what? I drove it around like I stole it, and I was enjoying my life. And he's like, you know what? I went to a party, and he's like, I got fucking hammered. He's like, I was so far gone. He's like, I had my keys in my pocket, and he's like, I just kept walking past my car. So he would tell me this story over and over and over and over and over again until it was burned into my skull, right? So he would go home and sleep, and then the next morning he would come and he'd pick up his car. So, and not to mention the fact that he raised me on coffee, right? So I've never really been a big drinker. My grandma used to try and force me to drink wine, and I was like, this shit tastes like garbage. And to me, it still kind of does. No offense, Aurora. I hate wine.
It's okay.
That's just who I am as a person. I don't like pickles. I don't like wine. Right?
Don't judge people.
I'm just a boy, okay?
Sorry. Hold on. Just let me review Sean's contract.
It's okay.
If we can end it yet.
Unpopular opinion, I hate beer. I hate it.
Fair enough.
But that's why there is wine and that's why there is beer, right? So because we're different tastes.
Yeah, exactly.
So I was always that guy. Again, thanks, Dad. He raised me to just be this dude that was always like, at every party, if I was sober, I was always like, give me the car keys. I held all the keys to everybody who had a car in the driveway. And again, it was just an excuse for me to drive, which is why I like to think I'm a pretty decent driver. I think I drive like a grandma because of those days. I only had my G1. I was driving people back and forth and, cleaning vomit off their seat the next morning. It was just, that was all that work. But no, I mean, being chauffeur was fun. I got to drive people's cars. Mind you, they were belligerent idiots at the time. Actually, John was one of those belligerent idiots I've driven home a couple of times. We've had lots of fun stories where actually John's dad would come and pick us up in his minivan. This was years ago. We were like 17, 16 maybe, and going to parties like a bunch of degenerates. And I remember there was one time where we had our one buddy, and he was so blackout, it was ridiculous. So we sat him down on how they have like the sliding doors for the vans. Yeah. So we sat him down, and the door was open. We sat him down, and we're saying bye to the other guys, like, hey, catch you later, like, good night, thanks for the party, whatever. And we turn around, and our friend Jarek just disappeared, like he was gone. So we were like, where the hell did he go? John, of all people, looked down and was like, there he is. And it's just his leg from underneath the van because he fell over and then rolled underneath the van in between the curb and the skirt.
It's a good thing you guys noticed before you moved the car. Oh
Yeah,
my
before
god.
we drove away, Although he may not have felt it, so
there was a significant sized human being sitting in the van. And then when we turn around for a minute and then turn back, and he's somehow magically, Houdini himself out of existence. That's left is this tiny little leg with his Vans skate shoe on it. It was great because it was just a one leg just kind of hanging out in between the curb and the van. So
just enough to let you know, don't drive over me. Yeah.
Yeah. It was a good time. I've had my fun, driving people around, and it was a good time. There's obviously been shitty times where there's people who are just bugging the hell out of me, and I've caught a few knuckle sandwiches driving people home. On top of that, I had to stop and try and get hot water from the McDonald's to clean off frozen vomit from the side of my ex-girlfriend's car. It's
not pretty.
It's give and take. At the risk of getting people home safely, not for their benefit, but for mine, to have my conscience clear. It was definitely it was quite the experience. And even nowadays, me and John, we can't drink much anymore. I've been drunk probably I can count on one hand how many times I've been absolutely wasted. And even now, John and I will go for a coffee, because the way we think about it now is if we go out and we get absolutely hammered and we have these very deep, meaningful conversations, we have a good time, the next morning we're not going to remember it, right? So now me and him, we go out for coffee, we have in-depth conversations, we talk about life, music, movies, shit like that, and we even chat about the podcast here and there, right? So the next morning I can wake up and be like, dude, that was a brilliant idea from last night, let's do it. Or send me that album that we were talking about last night, or send me that music we were listening to in the car, right? So now I just kind of, the way I think about it is hey, if you want to get drunk, go for it, have fun, whatever. But at the end of the day, if I want to drink, I'll have a beer, maybe two, max two. That's my limit.
Yeah.
Because I can't leave the house without my car, and let alone a venue or a bar or whatever. So I like to remember what I'm doing. I like to be in control.
Right.
Again, being drunk makes me feel
control for sure.
Yeah.
So
that's the
I
worst
just
for
try and
me.
avoid it.
Yeah. And it's interesting you say that, because I'm a guy, I've always loved music. I've always loved live music. And my friends and I always go to concerts. I've been to hundreds of concerts. And I have never, ever, ever gotten drunk and gone to a concert, because you work like hell to make the money for the ticket. I want to enjoy the show. I want to remember the show. Mm-hmm. I don't want to be blackout drunk and not remember, or lying on the floor and not see the show.
Okay, to that point,
yeah,
and to kind of emphasize that point to anybody who's watching, I've been to two concerts where that became an issue. One was a Kiss concert where it was in Toronto, and my buddy Jim and I went to the concert. And sorry, just showing off the Maple Leaf shirt. Maple Leafs. Sorry, go ahead.
Round two.
Aurora, she gone.
Yeah.
Anyway, we were going to the concert, and we took the train down, and we each had a Mickey of something. I had rum, and I think he had Jack Daniels. And we were drinking that the whole way. And needless to say, we were both pretty verschnockered, right? Yep. My only way of making sure Jim just didn't fall down and fall asleep in the subway was to make sure I bought a Kiss t-shirt, and I had him hold one end and I held the other end, and I towed him through the subway areas. And we went into some restaurant and everybody was wearing Kiss makeup and everybody's screaming, yeah, Kiss, yeah. And Jim just didn't remember anything. And so then we get to the concert, and he's kneeing the people in front of him as he's swaying around and partying, and they keep telling him to stop. And he's like, yo, okay, I'll stop. I'm sorry. And he'd keep on doing it. And that was not fun for anybody around him. Right.
Yeah.
And then the second time was at a Rush concert, believe it or not, same guy, Jim. And he drank so much that he literally passed out on the grass. Yeah. And watching the concert, and the security came and said, hey, we're going to have to ask you guys to leave. I was like, what? Rush is my favorite band at the time. I didn't know about Tool yet. And and I was not about to leave this concert. I was completely sober. And so needless to say, he ended up having to go down to the infirmary and sleep it off in the infirmary as we enjoyed the concert.
Okay, you missed the show.
I mean, that's just, like you say, it's such a waste. Such a
I was
waste.
gonna say, actually, you know what? That happened to John and I. Funny enough, actually, we love this band called Have Mercy. It's like sad boy music. It's like hardcore kind of like sad boy music. It's hard to explain. It's good music. It's fantastic. So we ended up paying. It was me, John, and I think 3 or 4 other buddies. We paid a shitload of money to go get these tickets, and we took the bus down to Toronto. We had our skateboards and everything. We were like set for this concert, and John got obliterated that night. And it just so happened that it was like near and around his birthday ish. I think, I can't remember. Probably so. But anyways, he was having a rough week. So, I mean, it made sense as to why he was, pounding back the booze or whatever. And I was at the bar and I saw this one guy. He had a Have Mercy tag on his little lanyard. So he's like, "Yo, you're with Have Mercy, right?" He goes, "Yeah, man. Like, what's up?" I was like, "My buddy's having like a really rough week. Like, we both love Have Mercy. It's the whole reason why we're here. We literally just came to see you guys." And and I was like, "You know what? Like, is there any way like you can dedicate like a song to him? Like, I don't care which one. Like, we've listened to every single album you guys got. Like, we love the music, right? If one song just dedicated to him." And he's like, "You know what? I'll figure something out, right?" So when Have Mercy got up on stage, the guy I talked to just so happened to be the bassist, and I was like, "Wow, I can't believe I just talked to that guy." So they played a couple of songs, and the one song that John and I were like super into the most, he was like, "Yeah, some kid came up to me at the bar, and he was like, asking me if I could dedicate, a song to his buddy who's having a rough week." And he's like, "What's his name again?" I was like, "It's John." He's like, "All right, this is for John." And they played the rest of the album just for him. And he was so far gone. And the next morning I was like, "Hey man, like, do you remember that like the concert was so dope last night?" He's like, "I can't even remember Have Mercy showing up on stage, dude." I was like, "You gotta be shitting me." So I had to explain to him that I talked to the bassist and all this other shit. And like to this day, he's still disappointed about it.
Oh, that's awful.
But I got to enjoy it because I was sober as fuck. It was great. I had a good time.
Well, yeah, I was like you. I got to drive a lot of people's cars and stuff like that too, right? So, my buddy had a Camaro right when I got out of high school. It was 85 Camaro with a big high output motor and everything. We'd go to parties and I'd be like, "Yeah, I'll drive." And so then midway through the party, the people were like, "Oh, dude, we need mix or we need munchies." I'm like, "Well, I'm the sober one. I got his car. I'll drive." So I'd like off we go, and I have the dubious honor of being the only person that while he owned that car, I was the only person to ever get pulled over in it because he never got a ticket. He never got pulled over. I got pulled over in that car twice that night by the same cop.
Wow.
And you live to tell the tale.
Yeah, and I didn't get a ticket either time. I just got a warning both times. So he's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm the designated driver. They sent me out for munchies." And he's like, "All right."
Wow.
That's funny.
Yeah,
That's good shit.
Well, let's talk about something else to do with creativity. Getting booze as a gift.
Okay.
Now, Aurora, you got the package there for the champagne as a gift.
Oh yeah.
Right?
So this champagne here I got as a gift for my friends, along with a bunch of other things that they gave me. It was really nice, but this is super interesting. It's a 24 karat gold champagne. So there's little flecks of, I don't know if you guys can see it.
Yeah, we can see it.
Gold shaking
Nice.
around in there.
Yeah.
So it's kind of interesting. I haven't tried it
Safe to
yet.
drink?
Yeah, so there's edible gold. So actually, my friends once had.
So you filter it out first, and you keep the gold.
No.
And you trade that in.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, but you can drink 24
of money.
karat gold leaf. You can drink it. Yeah.
You can
can
get
eat it.
like
Shit.
these sheets of gold, like really, really thin sheets of gold that people put on food. It's like, yeah,
Sounds
so
like a waste
like,
of money, but I mean, like, fuck it.
That's
yeah,
fancy.
it's super,
Yeah,
it's super
fancy.
bougie for sure. My friends went to get ice cream and they put gold on the ice cream.
People in Peru die for that gold. You know that.
So yeah, this is pretty interesting. I haven't tried it yet, but I guess I'll try it at some point.
Okay, so that proves the point exactly, though. I mean, there's making alcohol for the reason to get drunk or for the reason to enjoy the flavor, and then there's just putting gold in it.
Like she said, super bougie.
That's exactly it.
Love it.
It's definitely.
So
I love.
bougie.
You know
Right.
what though? It's a very memorable present because I've gotten so many bottles of champagne since Andrew and I have gotten engaged. But this is the one that I'm saving because it's very unique.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, I'll maybe open it on our anniversary or something like that.
On your 25th anniversary. Yeah.
I was gonna
maybe
say,
not
also
that. I
do-
was just thinking our 1-year
Champagne,
engagement anniversary. But
champagne, I wouldn't wait that long. There are certain things like this bottle of Jack Daniels. It's not going to go bad, so you're good.
I was gonna say it's gonna be a pain in the ass to piss away all that money. Okay.
But nice. Yeah, and what do you have as a gift, Brian?
Well, so in December, I'm in a semi. The other half was sold, and the people had lived there forever. Amazing family. They were renting, and all of a sudden, their landlord's like, "Nope, you got to go. We're selling the house." So the people that bought it since then have been doing renovations. And, we're not the kind of people to complain or say anything when you hear the noise. And Shelly's mother lives in the basement full time. So it's like she's hearing this all the time, right? The grinding and the this and the that. So finally, a week ago or so, I just knocked on the door and I was like, "Hey guys, when are you going to be done?" Is there a timeline? I'm not trying to raise a stink. I'm just kind of curious what the timeline is so I can tell Shelly's mother that, it's going to take this long, whatever. And he felt horrible. He says, "I didn't even know it was bothering you. I didn't know you were hearing anything," because we hadn't said anything, right? If you don't say anything, they don't know. So he was super nice about it. He said, "Don't worry about it. The noise will stop," and blah, blah, blah. The point isn't the noise. The point is a couple days later, he stops me outside and he hands me this little crate here with these 2 bottles of wine inside and this little vintages LCBO wood. It smells beautiful. This wood kind of thing. Yep. And I had never gotten a gift like that. Like every year for Christmas, Ross used to work with us at Henry's. He'd give us each a bottle of wine. In fact, I think one of these bottles back here is from Ross. I don't drink a lot, so the stuff kind of accumulates. But these 2 bottles, it was really nice. It's all packaged with this like kind of wheat stuff or whatever the grassy kind of stuff is inside there. And he says that his brother is a sommelier and specifically chose these 2 bottles of wine because he thought they were good. And I'm like, that's really, really nice of somebody to do something like that. It's not cheap, right? So,
yeah.
Awesome.
So, I mean, getting gifts like that, and you see, commercials where people are giving a bottle of Crown Royal or whatever as it's like some sort of special gift. And it is a special gift because, to be honest, a lot of people like myself won't go to the store and buy booze because it's $30 a bottle or more.
Or more, yeah.
When I was a kid, you can go buy a bottle of booze for $7.99. When I was a boy, I used to walk to school. Gosh darn it. I sound like some old guy.
Listen, you whippersnappers.
Oh no!
I'm just getting looks from Shelly now.
We made the gin in the bathtub.
Jesus fucking Christ!
Oh, Shelly.
Nice. Awesome. So
I was sounding like an old toot. That's what I was trying to do.
That's right. Shelly's like, "Hey, wow, who's in there with Frank?"
I know what's going on in there.
Yeah, and then the other way you get gifted things is my father-in-law. He loved scotch. And I remember we always used to buy him bottles of scotch for his birthday, Christmas, whatever. He just loved all these different scotches. So he had quite the collection. And when he passed away, my mother-in-law handed me the key to his liquor cabinet and said, go pick yourself a bottle. So this is a 14-year-old single malt Oban. And it's not going to, but yeah, this is from my father-in-law's private collection. And it's, I don't even think it's open yet. But yeah, it's I don't know when I'm gonna open it. I'm not a huge Scotch fan, but I will drink this in Neil's honor one day. I'm thinking his birthday already passed for this year, but maybe next year on his birthday I'll open it and have a Scotch in Neil's honor. Yeah, so that's
I like how
a good way to have that.
booze could be very sentimental. You know, you
Yeah.
have a toast for
Exactly.
somebody. You know,
Yeah.
you never
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. You
Yeah.
go ahead and a lot of times you'll see in movies and stuff they'll pour one out for for a lost one, right?
Mhm.
They'll have a
Pour it
drink
out for the
themselves
homie.
and pour one out. But yeah, I don't drink a lot, but I'm not wasting the alcohol. Shit's too expensive for that.
It really is. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've talked about drinking and a lot of things, creativity somewhat.
Yeah.
You know, there's some of the most creative songs have been written when people were
Yeah.
drunk or whatever.
Yeah.
But what about mental health? What is the relationship between alcohol and mental health? Because I think that's something that's needs to be discussed,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I mean, to my understanding, in most cases, it's actually a more negative impact.
Yeah.
In the moment, at that time, you feel happier and you feel, at a high point. But, hours or like the next day later, a lot of people who experience, like, let's say, depression and that kind of thing, it's actually amplified those feelings even more. I actually have quite a few people in my family who are completely sober because of you know because of their experiences with alcohol and mental health as well,
Yeah.
and how it impacts them. And like, I'm very proud of them. Jace is one of them. Jace was a guest on our show, and Jace has been sober for a year or two. But it's one of those things that I mean, maybe in the moment you might feel better momentarily, but for the days after, or day after, it can give you a real low, for sure.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Yeah, I did a little research,
Mm-hmm.
and I was on the Mental Health Foundation website, and it goes into how alcohol affects your brain.
Mm-hmm.
So first of all, alcohol is a depressant,
Yes.
right? So that can disrupt the balance of neurotransmitters, chemical messengers in your brain, which in turn affects your behavior, your thoughts, your behavior, how you process. Chemical changes in your brain can soon lead to more negative feelings such as anger, depression, or anxiety, regardless of your mood. That was the line that really caught me. You can be in a great mood, you can be in a horrible mood, and it's always going to lead to more negative feelings such as anger, depression, or anxiety.
Yeah.
Alcohol also slows down how your brain processes information, making it harder for you to work out what you're really feeling or the possible consequences of your actions. So, obviously, alcohol problems and mental health are closely linked for sure. Research has shown that people who drink alcohol are more likely to develop mental health problems. And it is also true that people with severe mental health illness are more likely to have alcohol problems. It's a self-medication thing,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You think you're going to numb the pain by not worrying about it tonight, just having another drink or having another toot or doing whatever you do just to, get through that. So I think for us, and again, part of this whole conversation is the responsible approach to this very volatile thing, potentially. What I would really like to get across to everybody is the fact that, alcohol is all fine and dandy if you're doing it in small doses or appropriate doses. But at the same time, being a smart human is always first.
Yeah.
Looking at the reality of what you're doing. It doesn't have to be alcohol. It could be water. You could die from too much water. I mean, you can die from a number of different things that you wouldn't think are harmful to you. But the simple fact that alcohol does alter how your brain processes, and it does do different things to you, and it is going to suck the liquid out of you. You're going to have to drink more water, and you're going to have to, really compensate in other ways. I think that's really important for people to realize. It's not just about, hey, you can't just drink. It'll kill your kidneys. It'll kill your liver. It'll do all kinds of major damage. And forget about the mental health and the brain side of it. It can do physical damage. So,
Oh, exactly. I remember many, many years ago, I had I don't want to call it a real serious relationship. It was right out of high school. But when that one ended, I tried to drown my sorrows. And I drank a lot in that time period. And a friend of mine sat down beside me and he's like, "Hey man, how you feeling?" And I'm like, I'm feeling sorry for myself, sitting there with my pity party and my beer and whatever. And he goes, "Yeah, they don't drown easily, eh?" And I go, "What?" And he goes, "Your sorrows." He says, "They're the best swimmers in the world, man. The more you drink, the more they just sit there and tread the fucking water." And it was like at that I was like halfway through a beer, and I looked at him like, "Fuck." And we'll talk with the girl because she knows who she is. Anyways, but I put that beer down, and I don't think I drank. That was probably the last time that I really drank heavily, like where I was drunk and sobbing and feeling sorry for myself. But yeah, that's probably part of the reason why I don't enjoy the feeling of being drunk now. That's why I have one because I fully planned. I drank my Caesar. I was going to have a shot of this Jack Daniels, but then I see my cheeks are going a little rosy, and I'm like, yeah, I'm good. I opened my bubbly here. I got water on the go now, so I'm good.
I finished my Caesar. I've got water myself.
Yeah, but
I never quite understood. I never quite understood.
Aurora's still drinking wine. Sorry, Sean.
Get it? You deserve it.
Coffee, Sean.
You worked out. No, I'm fresh out, dude. I'm out. It's a bummer.
Yeah.
But, no, I never quite understood the whole drinking to numb the pain thing. I mean, mind you, I beat myself to a pulp throwing myself downstairs, being a depressed piece of shit all the time, right? With my, especially with the whole situation with my dad and whatever else, and then high school on top of that, and then girlfriends on girlfriends, back and forth, and it was a hard time, but the only way I could deal with it without drinking myself into oblivion was tossing myself down some concrete steps, and just destroying my body and feeling sorry for myself the next day. But that to me was the way I could feel how I was feeling, but in a physical way. And then I could understand, how those thoughts and, my mental health and that's, those years could affect me physically. Right. So I would go nonstop, and then I'd pay the price for it for the next week and be fuck, there has to be another way.
Yeah.
So to me, I figured if I was going to drink my sorrows away, like you said, they're best floaters in the world.
Yeah.
For me, it didn't make any sense. Right. So this is another reason why I didn't, drink as much as all my friends did. Cause all my friends would, they would get in and out of relationships, and they would, be a piss tank for a month and a half. Right. And then, being the sober guy, I'd have to deal with them, crying and, being angry and, treating me like shit. Yeah. And then I just have to sit there and take it. And then the next morning be like, no, it's okay. Don't worry about it. It's fine. I get it. So now it's I don't really surround myself with those kinds of people no more. If you want to drink and drown your shit, go for it. Do it away from me. There's so many other ways. John himself has told me so many times, he goes, therapy is a thing of beauty. Yep. He goes, if you never tried it, he's I suggest you do. So absolutely. Even me, now, I clean my car, I go for a drive, whatever. I don't skateboard as much as I'd like to anymore, but it's harder for me to deal with my emotions now because I'm not beating the crap out of myself with my skateboard, right? So it's harder for me to kind of deal with my stuff. So I got to try therapy. I'm going to get to it. But for now, it's just coffee and detailing my car. That's basically it.
And you know what? Cleaning can be very therapeutic as well, right? I do that. Chris always knows if she comes home and I'm on my hands and knees scrubbing the floor, she's like, what's wrong? Right? 'Cause, I'm a guy. I'm I have a Roomba for that, right? I don't have to scrub it, but it's I know if I'm cleaning, if I'm in a cleaning frenzy, she knows there's something wrong, right? Because it's it can be therapeutic for sure.
Yeah. And there's definitely other ways, to deal with, emotional and mental stress, right?
Yeah.
There's therapy, you can go and exercise, you know what I mean? People play video games, much like me. I play them because I'm an idiot. I'm a mindless moron. Sometimes I just like to drown my brain power into this television.
Well, what you're doing is you're shutting it off. It's like reading a book, right? But different. You're going into an altered reality without a substance, right? You're in the game. You're in the book. You're in the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. And like there's different coping mechanisms, right? Like I went to the mall today and I don't really like being in large crowds of people anymore. Like
Yeah.
I used to love it when I was a teenager. So like now when I go to the mall, like Robin and I went to the mall today to go find myself a shirt for a wedding I'm going to next month. And the entire time I'm just making stupid jokes because like that's how I have to deal with being in a place filled with people I don't know, and quite frankly, a bunch of humans I possibly don't like. So I have to deal with it somehow by making stupid jokes, right? Like came out of the dressing room with a white shirt on. I was like, I feel like a priest. Like, do I look like a priest right now?
There you
Like,
go.
is this fitting? Like a priest? Is this weird? And she was having a good
What you
laugh,
need
so.
is the black collar with the white square on.
Yes.
Yeah.
You really want to pull it off. If you're going to be
That's right,
priest,
yeah.
you got to go full priest.
Go full
I
priest,
know, I
yeah.
got a
Just
full priest.
But I mean, I like to hear though that you are finding ways to cope.
Yeah.
Because we all have ways to cope, and if alcohol is that way, it will never end well for anybody, right?
Yeah.
And all that being said, alcohol can be fun. So let's talk about your favorite drink. Quick and easy. What's your favorite drink to have if you were to have an alcoholic beverage?
And one that we have not already talked about.
Yes. Or yeah, I
To
mean
change
it could be something we've talked about, but ultimately change it up would be great. But ultimately, like if you were to have one alcoholic beverage that's nostalgic and then it tastes good and it's just that right, what would it be?
This is like the what's your jam question. Like
Kind of,
there's so many.
And that's how we're going to end the
It
show,
is.
kind of. Yeah.
Yeah.
it is.
Damn it.
I could tell you mine.
Yeah, go for it.
Go for it.
So mine comes from a story, my very, very first time getting drunk. And that was when I was living in Vermont. My mother was a barbershop chorus director, and her barbershop chorus was all in town, staying at the Londonderry Inn, which was literally just up the street from where we lived in Londonderry. So it's like you go across a bridge and up this little street, and there's the Londonderry Inn. So I went to this Londonderry Inn with my friend Scott and my mother's friend, who was a DJ, Sue Smith, great DJ name. She gave me my first drink, which was cherry Coke and vodka. Vodka? Gin.
Gin? Okay.
Gin. And no, Southern Comfort. That's what it was. Southern Comfort and cherry Coke. So the Southern Comfort and cherry Coke was super sweet and super awesome. And I had like 3 of them and I felt like awesome. And then we went back to the house.
Numb.
Yeah, comfortably numb. Walked back to the house, basically busted into any cabinet that had booze in our house and took whatever booze we can find and just started drinking whatever we can find. Got totally verschnockered and fell down the stairs and was stupid. It was Vermont in like 1985. So what are you going to do, right? There was no internet. There was nothing. So anyway, long story short, if I were to have that one drink, it would be that cherry Coke and alcohol. And that was just delicious at the time. That's my nostalgic moment. And I would probably only have one and then I'd move on. Or I would probably have a White Russian because they're just delicious.
What's a White Russian?
White Russian. I'll find out the exact answer to this question and tell you.
It's a beverage that contains alcohol.
Yes. It has a lot of artillery.
Yeah.
Get it?
Yes.
Russian.
Oh, speaking of artillery, actually, so I forgot because everyone's showing off their bottles and whatever else, and I feel left out. So I actually had to beg Robin to grab. She bought this like vodka thing, and it's like this like awesome, cool little bottle. And I told her when she finishes it that she has to give me the bottle. Look at that thing.
Oh,
That's the Crystal Skull.
Yeah.
Damn it, who
Got a
owns
little
that?
orange juice in it, but
Dan Aykroyd owns that distillery. Yeah,
really?
I bought some of that. I had when I worked for the previous company, I did a big store opening, and the owner of the store gave me an LCBO gift card, so I bought a bottle of that for myself. Yeah, it was good. It's good vodka.
It's cool, man.
I think it's called Crystal Skull vodka.
I think so, yeah. I think it's awesome. It's just like I don't know what it is with me and loving everything and all things death.
They're awesome.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Nice.
But like I saw that and I was like, this is neat.
So the White Russian?
Yeah. White Russian is vodka, Kahlua, and cream.
There you go.
Ooh, interesting.
That's why it's delicious, because the Kahlua and the cream make it rich, and the vodka cuts it a little bit so you can actually drink it.
Yeah. And it looks awesome too, because it looks like this.
Nice.
Oh, interesting.
Yes,
There you
and a
go.
nice pair of
Hey, those
short
are,
pants.
Yeah, those are
There
some
you go.
nice shorts.
Yeah,
Actually.
if you just do milk
80%
in the
off.
Kahlua, it's a brown cow, right?
And if you don't put in the cream, then it's a Black Russian.
There you go.
And the cream is what makes it yummy.
Perfect. So for me,
Yes.
I'm a beer guy. And when I was in my youth, I drank a lot of beer, but now I prefer, I say I have one, maybe two. And I prefer, like, this is Lake of the Woods. So this is a brewery that's in Kenora, Ontario, which is about 5 hours west of me. I've got this one here, a Swingbridge Blonde Ale, which is made by the Manitoulin Brewing Company. So I had this first on Manitoulin. It's delicious as a blonde ale. But right here in Thunder Bay, we've got two awesome. I don't have one of them, but I've got, this is Sleeping Giant in Thunder Bay, and they have a bunch of beers. Quitting Time is a really good one, and there's also Dawson Trail Brewery. So I usually go for a craft beer because they've got a lot of flavor. But yeah, I've been a beer guy forever because it was easy. You need to worry about mixing it. It wasn't as hard as, like, say vodka or rum or something like that. And I could buy it. So like at 14 years old, I was going to the liquor store or into the beer store and buying cases of beer
14
for my sister's friends, and when I was the big hero.
You degenerate, you.
It was awesome. This is fun. My 19th birthday, I go into the beer store and I've got 2 cases of beer, and so I put them on the rollers, and I come up, and the girl goes, "Hey, Mark, how's it going?" I go, "I'm doing good." She goes, "2 cases, party tonight?" I go, "Yeah." She goes, "What's the occasion?" I said, "It's my birthday." And she goes, "Awesome, happy birthday. How old are you?" And I go, 19. And she goes, "What?"
You've been buying beer for 5 years, Mark.
I go, 19. And she goes, "Give me some ID." Only time in my life I ever got ID, my 19th birthday. So I show her my driver's license. She looks at it, looks up, and she's like, "You asshole. I've been serving you for like 6 years." Yes, you have.
You can't bust you now. It's too late.
That was my that's my degenerate story. But I used to get, my sister would call me up, and because my sister's older than I am, much older than I am, but her friends all looked younger, right? So I would go in and buy all the beer. I was like the big hero. It was great, and my sister had a lot of really good looking friends. So
that helped.
Nothing ever came of that for poor young Mark, except he was the hero, and
it made you feel good.
I got some hugs, and that was all I needed.
Nah, isn't that sweet? Hugs.
Yeah, it was good. It was a good time. I remember these stories used to come out with family dinners, and my mom would stop and go, "Wait a minute, how old are you? Wait, what?"
Yeah, right.
Because she didn't know, right?
All right. Well, who's next, Aurora or Sean?
Sean, you go first.
Oh boy. Oh, put me on the spot.
Look, I know you don't drink a lot, and we're not asking you to. But if there was an alcoholic beverage, what would float your boat?
Again, I'm a big beer guy. I love beer whenever I get the off chance to drink it, or the money enough to drink it, because it's expensive now.
It is really expensive. I was going to get some Sleeman Honey Brown for this show, and I was just like, no.
Oh, so
I'm good. It is so good. That's
I like the original draft with Sleeman. Yeah, good stuff.
Yeah,
and brewed here in Ontario.
Yes,
that's true. Mm-hmm. It's like a tie between Bo's Lug Tread, which is the first craft beer I ever shared with John,
one.
my best friend.
Cool.
Bo's Lug Tread really hits the spot.
Yeah, I like that.
That, or usually when I go to my Portuguese family gatherings, they have this beer called Sagres. It's like this nice little like shitty brown bottle, and it's literally as if like Portugal took like Mexico's recipe for Corona and was like, let's just make it Portuguese. And then I was like, this is great. This tastes fantastic. It's like drinking a Portuguese Corona. So, and it's cheap too. A 6-pack was like $10 like 4 or 5 years ago. I don't know how much it costs now, but
55.
Good shit.
I just looked it up. Probably. It's $55 right now.
Is it actually?
I don't know.
Oh my god! You got me. You scared me for a second.
Everything is that much more now. We had film go up $10 in one day for one roll of film. Everything's stupid expensive.
Ruthless.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, Aurora, what about you?
I mean, I don't know, because there's so many good things. So I guess one of the reasons why I really like wine is the first time I had drinks, I had white wine spritzer at my great aunt's house, and she was encouraging me to drink. So I thought that was funny. And it was made with like this like spritzer, like lemonade almost kind of thing, because lemonade in England is actually carbonated. So it's just like a hint of lemon with like carbonated kind of water. So I really do like the flavor of that. So sometimes when I'll have wine, but I don't want too much, right? I kind of want a lighter flavor, I'll get that. But I really love tequila.
That'll be the
And
soundbite of the show. Aurora saying,
yeah,
"I really love
But
tequila."
But you like the one with the little worm in it?
I really do. I like it a lot. So I love a good lime margarita. And it's like one of these things that me and my friend Elisa, we like to go get tacos at Made in Mexico, and they have the best lime margarita.
And they have the best tacos too.
The best tacos too.
They do,
Like this
they
is
do.
the best place to go eat Mexican food, in my opinion. And yeah, so we'll
When-
enjoy
when
some
we
like
do-
delicious tacos and
When we
lime
do
margaritas.
Expressions Comes to Thunder Bay, we'll take you over to Nortenos.
Okay.
Yeah, Chris and I had dinner for there last night.
I won't stop eating now and wait for that.
Yeah.
I mean, for us all to make it to Thunder Bay,
Well, aren't we doing Expressions Does Thunder Bay?
is that kind of like Debbie does Dallas?
Right. Except better.
Except we're just gonna go up there and drink booze and have Mexican food.
man.
Yeah, Mexican food. We're
I'm
gonna hit
down.
all the experience foods in Thunder Bay.
Oh, man. Actually, you know what? Quick question. Hold on. If you guys could try, okay, because I know there's a bunch of drinks that I haven't tried that I'm kind of curious. James Bond's martini, whatever, is one of them, and Sex on the Beach. Again, I hate talking about John so much, even though he's my best pal. But Sex on the Beach is something that he always says is it's a great drink, but it's a terrible activity. So I want to try it, just the drink, because I feel like the activity is worse. Sand in places that there shouldn't be sand. But I'm just curious of like what drinks you guys like haven't tried that you really want to try.
What is a cocktail?
I think a drink that I haven't tried that I'd like to try would be absinthe.
Oh,
That's fair.
I think that's.
I had the opportunity and chickened out.
Yeah, I think that would be the only
yeah.
thing I would.
Yeah, I really did.
Isn't absinthe like moonshine?
no, it's like a hallucinogenic
Yeah.
thing.
Oh,
Yeah, it's like green. I haven't tried it, but
So-
that is definitely something that I want to try at least once.
Yeah.
Get
No,
high and loaded.
I chickened out because I never tried drugs at all. I didn't try pot. I didn't try nothing. Nothing at all. I couldn't. Like I said, that's why I did beer. I was a beer guy, and I didn't do drugs. Nothing. And I didn't do no mushrooms, no cocaine, nothing.
So you didn't do drugs?
I never even tried smoking. It was just beer. And if I smoked anything, it was tires. That was it. Yeah. So I don't. Yeah. Not a. I chickened out. Chicken.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like it would be interesting to try that, but I wouldn't say that would be the drink that I would want to try that I haven't tried. I really wanted to try an old fashioned for the longest time, and I had kind of a not so good version at it at like a wedding because I just asked for it, and they're like, "Oh, well, we don't really have the stuff for it, but I can make something like it." So maybe I'll just kind of say an old fashioned. Because I don't know why. I just want to try it. I want to go to like a good mixing place, whatever they call it, and get like a traditional old fashioned.
You mean like a bar?
Yeah, like a bar, but like a bar that does like fancy cocktails because you can.
Okay.
There's so many of them right now, and that would be the only thing that you do for that night is you get one fancy cocktail and you just like talk to your friends or whatever. So that would probably be what I would try.
Very cool.
So yeah, I've got. I'm going to share my screen here since you're talking about it. How do I share screen here? Present. Share screen. Share screen.
Sean, did you say the drink yet that you wanted?
It's probably Sex on the Beach.
Oh, okay.
Maybe
There's
Sex
your
on
old
the Beach.
fashioned.
I don't know.
Ooh, yeah.
That was actually my drink. My friend made it, and it was actually smoked. He had the dome where they used the
You
little
smoke
smoker
it
and they put
whole.
smoke under the dome, and he made it. It was very good. I was pleasantly surprised at my old
Yeah.
fashioned, but yeah, it was delicious. My friend Jay made that at a Christmas party a couple years ago. Hence the bokeh.
Christmas lights.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like the smoky cocktails. I had one of my friends make something like smoked cinnamon or something like that.
Yeah.
And oh my gosh,
Oh,
it's one of the
that
best
should
drinks I've ever had. I don't know what he made, but it was really good.
Have you guys watched the shows where they compete to make the best moonshine or they compete to be the best drinks on Netflix?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's moonshiners and there's another one where they have like cocktails that they have to compete to make. The creativity that goes into some of these drinks is unlike anything I've ever seen. Oh, is this your whole photo shoot?
Yeah, hold on. I've got a different one. Let me. I got to stop. I'll reshare it because I've got one of the. I've got it in the
With the smoke?
smoker. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, some of these shows are insane. They spend, whatever their time allotted to make these special custom drinks, and then these special tasters will drink the drink and like give their opinion on it. And there's some fascinating, like the moonshine stuff is hilarious because you have these backwoods moonshiners,
Yeah,
who are like making these fancy flavored moonshine drinks. They have the still, and they're taking the first batch and the second batch, and you learn so much about how these things are made. It's pretty fascinating.
yeah. So I'm not sure whether it'll let me flip through.
Oh, wow.
There we go. Yeah,
That's cool.
yeah. It was really really neat.
That's wild.
So he's like a proper.
Definitely Christmas
I love
party.
the shirt.
That's the best photo of Mark I've ever seen.
There you go.
Oh man.
Awesome.
Can we make that the cover photo for this episode?
Yeah. Oh, I just about did a screen capture.
I'll send it to you.
No, I'll do it when I edit. I'll get it.
Yeah.
So, Mark, what's your drink that you want to try?
You know what? I don't think I have one because I've tried so much. Although, actually, no. You know what? I'll change that. A good friend of mine lives in Germany, and he was over here a couple of years ago, and he's big into the gin and tonic. And we were at the LCBO, and they've got like Brian's Jack and Coke in a can. There, you can buy a gin and tonic pre-mixed. So he was talking about how good a gin and tonic could be. So he bought a couple of these things, and we start drinking, and he looks at me, and he goes, "No, you got to have a good gin and tonic." So I think a gin and tonic to actually have a good gin and a good tonic, like the stuff that's pre-canned is just shit. So
that first day that I got drunk with the Londonderry Inn and the whole thing,
yeah.
That's what we were pretty much drinking when we got back to the house. We just had G&Ts, gin and tonics, and gin cokes, and we just had a big bottle of gin.
Gin is a very interesting flavor. It's kind of like piney.
It's pretty versatile.
Yeah. I like gin and ginger ale. It tastes very Christmassy to me.
Very Christmassy.
Christmassy, yeah. I would recommend trying that if you want like a Christmassy kind of tasting drink.
I think of Christmas, I think of like eggnog.
I don't like eggnog.
The rye and ginger is good. I like the rye and ginger.
Rye and ginger, okay.
Yeah, but it's got to be like a good rye, right? Like a Crown or something like that.
So let's get to the end of our conversation today. And let's do that by saying, what would you recommend? What would your last takeaway be, I guess, for this episode, as far as creativity and spirits? Let you each kind of have one last thought on
that. In terms of like creativity, I mean, like, if you're gonna mix a drink here and there, like a little bit, try some new things, right? Like, Google a little something. I'm sure there's recipe books you can get on Amazon for cocktails or whatever. Try something different, On top of that, to the tune of being responsible when it comes to drinking. I mean, always make sure that you're not, drinking and driving. I'm huge on that because, I've seen one too many, things in my day. So, but, drink responsibly, know your limits, play within it. And, everything in moderation is good, right? Everything in moderation is never a bad thing. So, always be really responsible with that kind of shit. Like even, smoking dope and whatever else, right? Like,
Yeah.
as long as you play with your limits, you know when to stop yourself. Like, just be chill with it. Don't go overboard. And definitely, if you have one of those personalities where you feel like you can, you have to drown your feelings and your emotions and your mental health and in booze or whatever, try something different. Maybe therapy. Try skateboarding. Or take a photo class with Brian. There you go.
There you go.
Sounds like a good idea to me.
We still need to go part 2, Sean.
Yeah.
Yes, I know. I'm sorry. I'm so busy.
It's all right. We'll get her done. We'll get her done. Mark?
I would say, yeah, try something different. Try something you don't normally drink. Get out of your comfort zone a little bit. Don't just like if you're a Bud Light guy, that is absolutely fine. If that's what you like to drink, have your Bud Light. But try a Coors Light. Try Michelob Ultra. Try drink a beer with flavor. Maybe try a Sleeman's or something like that. Just get adventurous. Try support local. Like I know in Newmarket you've got the Firehouse. Here in Thunder Bay, I talked about the Sleeping Giant and Dawson Trail. Wherever you are, that's one thing I've always liked doing is when Chris and I travel, I'll have a beer. But like when we were in Belize, I had a local beer, Belize beer. Like you could buy Budweiser, it was there. But again, I want to support local as well, so I would drink the local beer from Belize, or whatever it was they had. So try a local drink if you're somewhere. And as Sean said, be responsible. And with that said, part of being responsible when you're drinking is if we're drinking, and tonight is a classic example. There's 3 of us with a drink, and Sean doesn't have one. So instead of us all going, Sean, go get a drink. Come on, grab a drink. No, Sean chose not to have a drink, and that is absolutely fine. I mean,
chug. No, sorry.
Never pressure anybody to have a drink. Never pressure somebody to have a drink. Never ask them why they're not having a drink, because they could have their own reasons. I mean, they could be in rehab. I mean, if you've done rehab, if you've done AA, and you're clean and sober, if it's one day, fucking good on you. One day, awesome. If it's a week, amazing. A year, good on you. Keep on doing it. 21 years, actually. Most of you guys know I'm a big fan of Nikki Sixx. And Nikki Sixx's 21 years, his 21 year anniversary of clean and sober passed this week. So, good on him. Like for living the rock star life and being clean and sober is a hard thing.
Oh, he wouldn't be around today if he didn't.
No, he'd be gone, right? But this is the thing: is he's a living example of you can kick it and still have your life, still be who you are, and still be creative without it. Because obviously he's continued to write music. He writes music for everybody, books and photography and the whole bit. So if you need help, there's help there for you. And like I said, when you make that first day clean and sober, congratulations. Keep going. Second day, third day, 30th year, just keep going if that's what you need. So don't let anybody pressure you into drinking, and please do not pressure anybody to drink.
Yeah. Nope, milkshakes are a thing of beauty. Remember that.
I had a thing,
man. I'll tell you.
I was in Toronto the other day, and I had a thing. It was an oatmeal strawberry something. Oh my god, guys! I had little balls of like strawberry flavored liquid that when you ate them, they burst in your mouth, and the strawberry would go every. Oh,
is that what they call a bubble tea?
Bubble tea?
Yes, it was a bubble tea, and oh my god,
yeah,
it was.
Brian, I gotta take you to my bubble tea place in Aurora.
Yes, you do. You got to take me a lot of places. I'm counting on it.
Thunder Bay being one of them.
Yeah. Aurora, how about you?
Jesus.
Sorry.
I feel like, oh man, I really like what Mark said about trying local. If you're gonna try something new, best way to do it is try local and find out what they do best. With their local things. There is there is a place, it's called Long Slice Brewery or whatever. It's the first time I've ever said I like really, really liked a beer, aside from a coffee stout, which I can't drink anymore because it has coffee in it. But it's a brewery in Toronto, and they do like these like different kind of flavored beers, and they have this one that's a vanilla like birthday cake tasting beer, and then they have one that's an orange tasting beer called Princess Clementine or something like that, and you mix the two together and you get a creamsicle tasting beer. So that's kind of an interesting combination of things if you want to try something different and fairly local. I think you can get it at there's this pub called the Aviary in Toronto. And yeah, like I said, I'm not a beer person. I don't like the flavor of hops. That's the problem that I have with that. So anything that's really like hops tasting, which is most beers, I just can't drink it. So there's that. And then the other thing I would say is if you're not a drinker, you can still have fun like mixing mocktails and stuff like that. I actually had a long conversation with Jace actually the other night, and they were talking about all these different replacements for alcohol. Like you can get non-alcoholic champagne and non-alcoholic wine and non-alcoholic beer and non-alcoholic gin and other things like that, and you can still make mocktails from that stuff and have fun with it, like whatever the reason you're not drinking, mental health reasons, you know, wanting to be sober, you know, having a kid, right, stuff like that.
Having a kid would drive me to drink. I don't know about the not having.
Well, as a woman,
you're going with that.
Like as a woman, when you're pregnant.
Oh, while you're pregnant,
yes. Yeah, you shouldn't drink. That's not a good thing.
Fair enough.
So,
unless you really don't want the kid, and then you know,
have mom tails or mocktails.
Mocktails, yeah. And mocktails are a big thing. I did photography for a charity event in my previous life. With my previous company, I used to do I used to do all the charity event photography, and they always did mocktails in a movie night at a cinema down in Oshawa, and I used to do the photography for it. Yeah, it was fun, you know, because I mean, just because you like a pina colada doesn't mean there has to be rum in it.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Yeah.
Exactly. You can like the flavor of a drink like a mojito or something like that, and not have the alcohol.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Exactly.
Is there a cat meowing in the background?
Oh, can you hear Dixie?
We're laughing at? Yeah.
Was that I thought I heard one of mine, but yeah, like I keep Mas Clamato Caesar juice.
Oh, here she is.
In my fridge all the times, and sometimes I'll just pour a glass of just.
Oh yeah, it tastes the same.
Yeah.
It tastes the same, especially when you put the Worcestershire.
Yeah. Oh, sometimes I don't even do that. I don't always put the wash your sister sauce in it, but
why's your sister sauce? I think for myself, I'm going to echo the drink responsibly, but add to it, respect the booze.
Yeah.
Respect what alcohol can actually do to your system. Yeah. Understand how it dehydrates you. Understand how it affects your brain. Understand that 1 beer is fine. 2 beers, you're 2 beer bry. 3 beers, that could be something different, right? So respect the booze. And it's funny that, you know, Nikki Sixx quit his addictions and survived. Yeah. And then there's Willie Nelson.
Yeah.
Who, you know, I don't think you can smoke Willie Nelson. I mean,
him and Snoop Dogg,
yeah, right, exactly. And the last thing, to Aurora's point, how you can blend drinks, Rickard's Red and a Rickard's White blended together is actually really nice too. I don't know if you ever tried that.
Yeah, I'm gonna try that.
Ever tried an Irish car bomb?
No.
They take a pint of Guinness and they drop it's a half pint of Guinness and they drop a shot of Bailey's in it.
Ooh,
I thought it was yoga,
I think that would curdle.
And you try. Well, funny you say that. So you drop it in and you slam it back. You don't drink it. You don't drink it slow. You have to slam it back. And so the waitress brings them to the table, and she's like, okay. So I'm like, what do you do? She goes, take the shot and you drop it in, and then you drink it back, but you got to drink it fast. And I go, okay, why is that? And she says, because the Guinness will curdle the Bailey's. I'm like, so I drink it and it curdles in my stomach. She goes, yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, but you got stomach acids. That's what they're for.
I had one.
The car bomb comes after you drink it.
And closing the show, I'm going to end it with, on a future episode, we're going to have a whole show about creative ways to clean puke off your car. Because that's a needed episode for a lot of people. Anyway, guys, this has been fun. We've gone way over time.
I might be a little bit hot water here. So
yes. We got to say goodnight.
Yeah.
Aurora, Mark, Sean, love you guys. Thank you so much for doing this week and every week. And we'll talk to you later. And everybody who watches, thank you too. Don't forget, subscribe to our channel. I know that we go long sometimes, but we have such a good time doing this. And hopefully there's some transfer of benefit somehow for you watching our show, and you tell your friends about it, and then they start watching, and then we end up with 5 million subscribers because we only have 150. And then down the road, it'll be fun. Anyway, we're having a great time. See y'all next week.
Right.
Have a great week. Bye-bye.
Good night, everyone.
Peace.
Good night.
Wait, you gotta look up in the corner. Record it.
What I wouldn't give to be 16 in the 70s and own my first car for $2,000. Fuck.
Yeah, but getting $2,000 in the 70s was a lot harder than it is today.
Yeah, I know. 50-cent Coke and all that other stuff. Yeah, fucking that's been nice.
Oh, you mean Coca-Cola?
I was going to say, I don't remember balls being 50 cents.
I was going to say, never that cheap. I don't know what you're talking about.